Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video to break down the 7-game NBA main slate on Saturday. If this is your first time watching, welcome. My name is DK. I make content for daily fantasy sports, prize picks, and NBA Top Shot. If you are looking for more in-depth content for DFS, including player pools with cash GPP plays, if then statements regarding injuries, roster instruction videos for the main and showdown slates, as well as the Patreon live stream every slate before lock, you can check out my Patreon, which is linked down below. And the sponsor of this video is Prize Picks, which, if you're not familiar, again, is a player prop site. It's super, super fun. A lot of different ways you can play. You can mix and match sports. But basically, the idea is you pick 2 to 5 player props, and you can win up to 10 extra money. So if you guys want to give it a try, if you're a first-time user, you can sign up and use my code DKDFS. That's for a 100% match up to $100, a free $100 to play with on this site. Okay, so another NBA DFS slate. Another night of random blowouts, right? I'm right on the edge of cashing in tournaments. Minnesota, random massive blowout. Christian Wood, KPJ, don't touch the court in the fourth quarter. Blowout, both on pace to absolutely smash. I did have a really good night in Call of Duty, finish second place in the tournament. So that was nice. Win some good money over there. But yeah, just, no blowouts here. And it's a great night for me, right? If Patrick Beverley gets his fourth quarter run, if we get fourth quarter run for Wood and KPJ, it's looking like a really, really solid night. So what can you do, right? Random blowouts, can't predict it. And I'm tilted about it. I am, because I was, again, close to cashing in tournament. So, yeah, Mitchell was relatively popular. Even for 41, he was fine. I got different with Otto. I didn't really want to play him, but it was just that price range was weird in the small forward spot. So I kind of just had to, and it obviously didn't work out. Again, Patrick Beverley's on pace for a solid game. Didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter. Porzingis, I went back there because if I did not go back there and he had this game, I would have went crazy. So thankfully, he actually ended up smashing. Could have used that from him last game, though. Definitely. And then Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. not touched. Wood played for like 30 seconds at the fourth. I don't know why he came in. He came in for like 30 seconds, got like a rebound, and then came out. But basically, no fourth quarter run for Wood. No fourth quarter run for Kevin Porter Jr. That was very, very tilting. Very, very tilting. Toppin started slow, but ended up. The next news was, it's March NBA, right? We get the news that, okay, Jericho's him to start. So, no way, right? Mitchell Robinson's out. He's not playing. And then a couple minutes later, Mitchell Robinson active off the bench. Like, really? Really? So I ended up sticking with Top. He didn't play as much with Robinson back, but it just again, come on now. Come on. And then Chris Dunn smashed only in 19 minutes. So we have this game that we're just going to run it back again tomorrow. So I hope you're excited for some more Houston and Portland. But yeah, that was it for the look back, guys. As far as ownership goes in high stakes, I was taking a look at Big T's lineup. So Chris Dunn, 60%. Mitchell, 45%. Gobert was massive chalk, 72%. I was super excited when I saw how high owned Gobert was. Because I knew that meant that Christian Wood is going to be way lower owned than he should have been. And Christian Wood, again, was on pace for a huge game and doesn't get the fourth quarter run. So, again, all pain. Eubanks is relatively popular. He was a bust. They really spread out the minutes there for Portland. Let's see what else. Keon Johnson got some others. Duncan Robinson was massive chalk for value. We talked about this in the Patreon live stream, how in the last game that Miami ran a very tight rotation. But Duncan did get his minutes cut. Jimmy, the minutes were there, and he did smash. He was 41%. The winning lineup, this is the winning lineup. Trae Young was very low owned, but he smashed once Bogdanovich got ruled out. It was just a little bit hard to get to him at that price point, but I knew there was going to be more usage to go around. I was a little bit tilted how, that Satoransky was 30% owned, because him starting didn't necessarily mean he's going to play more minutes, but sure enough, for the Sato droolers, you get Raul Neto out of the rotation, so he actually got a decent run. But that was chalk I was willing to get away from, because Satoransky could have started and played 15 minutes, right? That was very much possible. So I am a little bit tilted about that, but hey, what can you do? And then, we went over Gobert, massive chalk. Jimmy Butler is pretty popular. Dunn, chalk, top and chalk. So that was it for the look back, guys. And let's talk about the 7-game slate. We'll start off on the Sacramento side. This game in general looks really appealing. 2 teams that are shorthanded, more so on the Sacramento side, and 2 teams that don't play much defense. So no Sabonis, no Fox, no Davis. I think Davion Mitchell at 6K still really stands out. In my opinion, he is still too cheap for the role he's playing right now as being the facilitator and one of the main scorers as well. So I think he should be about a 7.5K player, and he's only 6K. So I still think he's underpriced. He does have that shooting guard eligibility, which is nice. So he really stands out to me. I think Harrison Barnes in the mid-range looks decent. Did get benched down the stretch, but still played 33 minutes. I would assume he plays at least over 30 minutes, which makes him a viable play in the mid-range. Trey Lyles at 5'8", kind of just looks okay. He only played 22 minutes last game. Same with DiVincenzo, just looks okay at 5'4". I expect around 30 minutes. Again, just more of a neutral secondary option. Damian Jones still feels too cheap at 4.4, played 30 minutes last game. If we get around 30 minutes again from him, I do think that is underpriced. Metu had a really solid game off the bench. We know he's a pretty good point per minute guy, but he also shot 8 of 11 for the field, so kind of an outlier. But if we get mid-20s minutes again from him, I do think 4K is too cheap. Other options, so Holiday, 3.9, he's a low usage guy, but 25-ish minutes, I think is a fair guess. Don't think I'm going to go there. I think if I'm going to take a shot on a really cheap guy here, besides Metu, I think it would be Jeremy Lamb, just because he's much more productive when he's on the court as opposed to a guy like Holiday. And then that's really it. Alex Len is 3.3. I mean, he did play the backup 5 last game. If you think Jones gets in some foul trouble, you can take a shot on Len, but in my opinion, it's just worth it to go to Jones there for a little bit more. Now, on the Orlando side, so no Jalen Suggs, but we do have Carter Jr. coming back. We do have Markelle Fultz back as well. So Carter Jr. at 8.5. Not the best price point for him, but I do like the matchup a lot, and he's been the most consistent player. So I still think he's in play even at 8.5. Cole Anthony had a big game last game, but that was without Carter Jr. Now that you have Carter Jr. back, expect him to take a little bit of a backseat. Plus, you have Markelle Fultz playing off the bench, so a little bit hard to get to Anthony. Wagner, Bamba, and Okeke are all the secondary plays. Probably wouldn't get to Okeke with Carter Jr. back. Mo Wagner, he'll play the backup 5. He did play 26 minutes last game. He'll be super productive. In a blowout or in a competitive game, I expect, high teens minutes. If the game blows out, he could play mid-20s. So if you're playing for a blowout in this game, you can look to Mo Wagner, just because, again, he's going to be super productive when he's on the court. Fultz at 4.3. They're just really taking it easy on his minutes. He's only playing around 20, so kind of hard to go to him. All right, Indiana and Toronto. So some more question marks here for the Pacers. We do have Brogdon in the last couple games. Looks like he's going to play. So some of the bigs we have question marks, though, with Smith and Goga. At the top end with Halliburton, Keeler, and Brogdon, I think, if he ends up playing, Brogdon would be my preferred option of the 3. But, my only issue now is he hasn't played in over a week. So, could they take it easy on his minutes? So that's the only concern there with Brogdon. Brissett at 5.7 just feels priced about right. Now, the bigs keep an eye on the news. So Jalen Smith missed last game. Goga ended up playing. And Goga is a good point per minute guy. He played 30 minutes last game. So if Jalen Smith gets ruled out and Goga starts, I think he's a solid option there in the mid-range. And then Terry Taylor would be a viable backup. Would play the backup 5. Him and Justin Anderson are fair values. However, they both got extended last game. And I would expect if Brogdon ends up playing that Justin Anderson moves to the bench and then, he would not be in play. But yeah, Taylor, again, had a good game last game, but did play a lot in that blowout. So it really depends on the stats of Smith and Goga. If they're both in, I'm probably not getting to Taylor. If one or both are out, then Taylor is definitely going to stand out as a decent value play. If both are out and he's their only big, then he's going to really, really stand out. On the Toronto side, so we do have OG back, but he put limited minutes last game. Gary Trent Jr. questionable missed last couple games with that toe injury. As far as the top-end guys go, Siakam and Van Fleet, I think, are both good options. The only risk you have here is potential for a blowout. But yeah, Siakam, Van Fleet both look good. These two, especially Siakam, has caused me just immense pain this year. But they're going to play big minutes, that Scotty Barnes feels too pricey there at 8.1. If Gary Trent Jr. is out, you can look to Boucher. Even with OG back, Boucher still played over 30 minutes just because they took it easy in OG's minutes. So still have a little bit of interest there in Boucher at 5.2. However, just more of a tournament play. Achua 4.8 feels a little bit too pricey for me to go to him. Chicago and Cleveland. So on the Chicago side, DeRozan expected back. And Alex Trusso is probable as well. So only guy out still is Lonzo. As far as the big 3 here goes with DeRozan, Levine, and Vucevic, they all look pretty similar. They're all priced the mid 8K range. So they're fine tournament plays, but no standouts for any of those guys. Trusso 5.2 feels a little bit pricey. So To be honest, there's really not much that stands out. I know Kobe White had a good game last game. That was without DeRozan, so expect his minutes to go down, plus his price is up. So not a lot that stands out on the Chicago side. On the Cleveland side, kind of the same thing. I mean, Garland and Mobley feel a little bit too pricey at 10-2 and 8.1K respectively. Now, keep an eye on the starting lineup. Last game, we got news that they were going to extend the starters' minutes and that Kevin Love started. So if Kevin Love starts again and we get similar news that they're going to play big minutes, then Kevin Love's probably my favorite play just because he's going to be productive when he's in the court. So keep an eye on that news. If Love starts, I think he's a good option. If he doesn't, then I probably can't go there. Marking it 6'4", also should play pretty big minutes, but just feels priced about right. Okoro, another guy that's he's going to play big minutes, but he's such a low usage guy. LeVert at 5.6, probably sees mid-20s minutes, but not really enough for me to consider him. All right, Milwaukee and Memphis. So big news is Giannis is questionable. Drew is out. Middleton is probable. So the Giannis news obviously is going to change a lot. Like if Giannis plays, I think Giannis and Middleton both stand out, and then like Brook Lopez looks okay for value. If Giannis is out, then there's a good amount to like here from Milwaukee. Then Middleton stands out as a really solid play, even at 8-7. Just because he would be, their go-to guy. Portis at 7-4 would be okay. Started last game and played 29 minutes. But you would have some values. Like Brook Lopez would probably play high 20s minutes and QB, decent value. Grayson Allen, Content, both should see mid-20s minutes. There'd be viable options. Ibaka probably sees, high teens minutes on the bench. I think he'd be playable. So you would have some cheaper options viable, like Wes Matthews would play big minutes, but it's Wes Matthews, right? You're never going to get excited about that. On the Memphis side, so still no John Morant. I think Tyus Jones still is too cheap at 5-1. In my opinion, he should be about a 7K player. So in a competitive game, I expect 30 to 35 minutes. He only played 25 last game because of the massive blowout. So still like Tyus Jones, even at the price. Bane has played out of his mind recently, but the price has jumped to 7-8. So feels a little bit pricey for Desmond Bane. Triple J, to no one's surprise, was in massive foul trouble last game. But we know he is a guy that does have a ceiling, so always intrigued by him for tournaments. Adams also had a massive, massive game, but that was because Jaren Jackson Jr. was in some foul trouble. So, I feel like that was an outlier game for Adams. His price jumped up about $1,000. I still like the price in Dylan Brooks. I would expect mid-30s minutes from him. So, I like Brooks and Tyus Jones, probably the two guys that stand out the most to me in the Memphis side. And then still no Brandon Clark. I'm not sure if they could do a couple different things here. They could just run the two bigs in Triple J and Adams and slow-mo at the 4, or they could continue to use Xavier Tillman as that backup. And if they do, I think he's playable. Obviously, he got extended last game because of the blowout, but I'm not sure how that rotation is going to work if they just go a little bit smaller and throw slow-mo at the 4 and one of Jackson or Adams always at the 5, or if they do use Tillman as that backup 4 or 5. Brooklyn and Miami, so tough matchup here, and the price points are up, and the Brooklyn guys, KD and Kyrie, so they're both playable, but definitely more tournament options for me. Neither really stand out. You have Seth Curry back, so I'm not really looking at any of the value guards. I'll mention Drummond at 5'8", just because he's productive when he's in the court. Played 28 minutes last game, so he's fine. Claxton feels a little bit pricey. There's just not much else here. So it's KD, Kyrie, and Drummond, and that's about it. On the Miami side, so again, they ran still a relatively tight rotation tonight. It's just the minutes for Duncan weren't really there. So I'll read it off the minutes tonight because I don't think they're up. Actually, let's see. Are they? Oh, they actually are. Okay. So, it's probably easier for me to just read off the minutes so instead of clicking on everyone's names individually. So in the game tonight, they lost to the Knicks. You had PJ Tucker start and play 28 minutes. Jimmy played 37. Bam played 32. Lowry 36. Duncan 24. Off the bench, you saw Struss play 30. Dedmon 16, the backup 5. Martin played 21, and Morris played 16. So I think the starters are the guys you're going to have some confidence in. In a decent matchup, I think Jimmy and Bam both look good. Would lean Jimmy over Bam because he has that small forward, power forward eligibility, so a little bit easier to get him in. Bam and Adebayo, kind of frustrating minutes-wise. He only played 32, but it wasn't a little bit of foul trouble, so would expect mid-30s minutes from him. So the two main Miami guys, in my opinion, look good. If Hero is still out, then Lowry's solid. He's not going to be a super high-usage player, but he should play big minutes. The rest is where it gets kind of tricky, right? So Tucker, not a high usage guy at all, but I wouldn't think he gets around 30 minutes. He's fine value. Robinson, more the high risk, high reward value play. We know he's very score independent. If he's not hitting shots, they can just go to Struss off the bench like they did tonight. However, if he does play relatively well, he kind of get extended. It does have a ceiling. So he's always someone I'm going to be intrigued by for tournaments. Again, Struss had a big game tonight because, or relatively big game. That was because Duncan struggled. The likes of Morris and Martin, I don't think it's necessary to go to either of them. And then Dwayne Dedmon is the flat min price. He's going to play the backup 5. I guess it's okay. There's probably going to be better value it opens up, but should see 12 to 15 minutes, somewhere in that range. Oklahoma City and Denver. So here's the situation. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays, lock in Baisley, lock in Mann, and Pokusevski, because they're all going to absolutely smash somehow. If Shai's out and there's so much usage to go around, they're all going to bust. Because that's what's happened the last 3 slates. You had 2 slates with Shai out. I load up in the Thunder. They bust. The one game that Shai played in an awful matchup, all the secondary Thunder smashed. He just can someone make sense out of that for me? I am still in just full tilt mode from that. But yeah, so Giddey, I don't expect to play. Don't expect Kendrick Williams to play. If Shai plays at 10K, he's going to be in play for tournaments because if the game is competitive, you're probably going to see a big game from Shai. If he misses, there should be more usage for Baisley, Pokusevski, and Mann. But every time I play these guys, they can't hit a shot. And then Isaiah Roby's been up and down. I mean, if you played him 2 games ago and then faded him last game, I really feel for you. That is ultimate pain. But they're short on bigs, and he's been productive, so he's in play for tournaments. So yeah, the Shai news is big. If Shai's out, obviously the secondary players are going to look better. They should look better. It hasn't been the last 3 games, though. So keep an eye on that Shai news. All right, on the Denver side, so there's some blowout risk, but Jokic at 12K, if the game is competitive, obviously has a ceiling, and it's in a great matchup. The secondary options, not a ton. I will say, though, this game is likely to blow out, and if it does, Boogie Cousins could smash in that blowout. So I'm intrigued by Boogie at 4-1 just because how productive he's going to be on the court. And if he plays a couple extra minutes, he could really break his slate. We saw Boogie put up almost a 50 bomb. He did put up a 50 bomb in his game against Houston. He does, right? If he plays 41 and 18, if he plays a few extra minutes, Boogie can really break his slate. So I do kind of have some interest there. Bones Highland has played extremely well off the bench and could play a little bit more in a blowout, but the price point is just a point where, right? So the final game, here we go, right? So here's what's going to happen, right? I played a low-owned Christian Wood tonight. Blowout. On pace for huge game, blowout. So what is going to happen? Get your pen and paper out. I'm going to fade Christian Wood tomorrow. The game is going to stay competitive, and he is going for 70. So jot that down. Going to happen. But yeah, it's obviously a great matchup if this game stays close. And in a competitive game, I would expect 30 to 35 minutes from Wood, 30 to 35 minutes from Porter, and 30 to 35 minutes from Jalen Green. So all 3 I like if this game stays competitive, right? So Wood, KPJ, my 2 favorite options, but Green in play as well. Green a little more reliant on scoring. As far as the value goes, Sengun's been playing consistent minutes of low to mid 20s. I still think he's fine. If the game blows out, probably plays a little bit more. Jay Sean Tate had a really good game tonight, but also had a good shooting game. I think he's a fair value play. And then the rest of the value plays just look kind of similar in Martin and Gordon and Christopher. So don't know if I'm going to really prioritize any of those guys. And on the Portland side, so they really spread out the minutes. Obviously, the game was a massive blowout. They just get blown out almost every night, so it's hard to nail down what the minutes going to be like for this team when the game stays competitive. I would think in a competitive game that you're getting low 30s minutes from Watford, Williams, Eubanks, and probably mid 20s from LB and Dunn. But since this team gets blown out every single game, it's hard to figure out what's going to be, right? So the likes of Watford and Eubanks, like I said, it's a good matchup. I think they're in play for tournaments. Williams shot awful tonight. I think he shot 1 of 10. He's fair play. Probably would rather get to Chris Dunn at 4-6, who's just a little bit cheaper, or more cheaper, I should say, but also didn't play a ton of minutes. Ellaby at 4-7 is playable. It's just a lot of guys that are playable. Mackmore, Keon Johnson started. He's fine. Greg Brown is fine. Basically, everyone in this rotation you can make an argument for, depending on whether or not you think the game is competitive or blows out. And obviously, this team just gets blown out every single night. So they're a good tournament team. I don't know if there's anyone I feel really confident in to go to cash games. I guess the player I'd probably still feel the best about would be Dunn for the price point, but he did only play 19 minutes tonight. So yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the video. If you have been enjoying the YouTube videos, just make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All those things help me out a ton. And again, I really appreciate you guys watching the videos every single day. Really, really do. And tilting with me, right? You guys on Twitter, you make me laugh with some of your tweets. So yeah, again, really appreciate it, guys. Building a great community here. And I will see everyone in the next video.